All right, the recording is starting. So I'm going to get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first workshop Wednesday. We are so excited to have all of you here, and we have a special guest. We have Hello West Michigan representatives Rachel and Jessica, who are experts in the job search arena, and they're going to give you some valuable tips today. So please make sure you're paying attention. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the little raised hand function or feature in this MS Teams tool, or you can put into a chat the question. And at the end, we'll have a few minutes maybe to answer those questions, or I can connect you with Rachel and Jessica after the session. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Rachel and Jessica.
All righty. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Courtney, very much for that great introduction. As she said, my name is Rachel Gray. I'm the Executive Director of Hello West Michigan. Very excited to be with you today. We're really going to be chatting about your prescription for job and internship success. Obviously lots has changed in the last 6 months with COVID. It's almost completely turned internships and job searches and HR teams upside down. But the truth is that a lot of the foundational things that would have made you good before the pandemic are still going to make you good for an internship during the pandemic. And if things kind of seem a little wonky, it's because HR, they're trying to figure things out too. And so that's what's really important. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera here. You're mostly looking at the PowerPoint anyways, but my apologies if I cut out a little bit. Always dealing with technology issues. That's the name of the game, but we got to be flexible. So as I was saying, the skills that you learn and that you really bring to the table, those are still important. And a lot of things that you can do to find an internship and to network with other professionals, that hasn't changed. So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today to really help you be a step above everyone else, to help yourself land that internship. So looking today at who's going to be talking. So myself, I'm the executive director of the organization. We also have on board our program manager, Jessica Custer. So the reason Courtney asked us to come today, she very kindly called us experts on job search, because the truth is that we deal with people every single day who are searching for jobs, because that's what we do. We help promote West Michigan as a great place to live and work. You can see our website here, hellowestmichigan.com. It has over 1,000 linked resources about the area. So anything you want to know about a community when you move there is on our website. Because the truth is when you graduate, you can pick anywhere that you want to go to work, anywhere you want to go. And so as you're thinking about where you might want to get a job, the truth is you might actually be thinking about where do you want to live? That might be the more important question. And then you think about where you want to work. And so as you're thinking about where you want to land, it may be West Michigan, it may be somewhere else. But if it is West Michigan, we want you to know that there are jobs here and that there's also a lot to do here. Particularly if you grew up in West Michigan, you may think, oh, I know everything there is to know because I've lived here all my life. That may actually not be the case. A lot of us, growing up, we experienced the world as our parents did. So you really do the things that they do, which of course, now that you're in college and living independently, you realize, you don't always have to do what they do. And so even if you've lived here all your life, I encourage you to take a look at our website and maybe learn something new about West Michigan. So what do we do besides having a website? We actually work to attract, educate, and connect candidates to West Michigan. So again, trying to teach people about what it's like to live here. So besides our website, we offer a lot of other resources and a lot of other sources of information about the region. So definitely make sure you check us out on social media. You may only go to our website once, but if you follow us on social media, we're at Hello West Mich, M-I-C-H. You can really kind of stay up to date with what's happening. Not only about, fun social events and fun things that are happening in the area, but also about employers and being in the know about what types of companies are here in West Michigan and what types of jobs are open. We also have a weekly resume pack, which Jessica is going to talk to you about, something that you'll probably want to take advantage of, particularly if you're looking for an internship or you're coming up on graduation soon. All right, so getting into the meat of our presentation here. Today we're going to cover several things. The first, we're going to talk about career services and why they are going to be your best friend. Talk about some resume tips, tips for researching companies and how to really find that needle in a haystack, how to leverage your LinkedIn, and then also the resources that Hello West Michigan offers. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Jessica Custer. She is our program manager, also a young professional who went through this not too long ago. So Jessica, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Rachel, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad that you decided to spend this time with us here today, and I hope that you learned some valuable pointers that you can really take and apply right away. As Rachel mentioned, we'll be covering a few topics today that all intertwine into your job search strategy success. So I want to kick things off with the easiest first step on your checklist that you can imagine. Visit the Calvin Career Center. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 before you visit the Career Center. You should be visiting the Career Center so regularly to talk to them about your future, so much so that they should know you by name when you walk through that door. I'm sure Courtney would agree that they're more than prepared and excited to help you as you navigate either the search for your next internship or the transition from being a student to becoming a full-time employee. They want to see you succeed, and they would be grateful to play even a small role in helping make that happen. Now, before we got started, I took a quick peek at the services your Career Center offers, and I was blown away. If you haven't at least looked at their page on the website already, do that today. They are prepared to help you with resume and cover letter critiques, to talk to you about upcoming job fairs, opportunities to network with alumni, which I'll get into a little bit more later, and you can even work with a career coach to help you determine your strengths and further develop your skills. So enough about them, just make an appointment to sit down with one of your career counselors. Now, moving on to resumes. We're going to start with a checklist for your resume. Start by putting together a master list of all your skills, responsibilities, achievements, and so on. This should be its own separate document that you keep on file and are continuously adding to as you gain more experience, achieve different goals, and learn new skills. When you keep an ongoing list like this, you can pull from it for each position you apply for, because you're likely to need to customize your resume for various positions that you're applying for here. Next piece, the layout. You should always keep a traditional basic layout version of your resume. When you use the templates found online, while they might be aesthetically pleasing, they could actually hinder your chances of being seen by an employer. And this is because the applicant tracking systems that many larger companies use to help them filter through the hundreds of applications that they're receiving for a single job posting. So when you start changing the layout, adding different side columns and visuals, the system can no longer pull the information it needs to from your resume to do the initial screening of you as a candidate. Now, with that being said, it is great to have the traditional version, but it's also okay to have a more creative version on hand as well, especially if it's fitting for the types of positions you're applying for. So if you are someone who's going into marketing or graphic design, having a designed up version of your resume is a great way to showcase your skills right off the bat, because your resume will be the first impression of you to that hiring manager. So with this though, just be careful to not lose the meat of your resume because you're so focused on the design. The content of your resume and your previous experience should be your priority in your resume. All right, so now how should your layout flow? Always start with your first and last name at the very top of your resume, so that it's the first thing that the recruiters are seeing and they know exactly whose resume they're looking at. Next should be your contact information, including your phone number, email address, mailing address, and your LinkedIn profile URL. And I also want to remind you to make sure that your email address is one is one that you're checking regularly because you would hate to miss any communication from a potential employer. Next should come your professional summary. This aims to sell you to a potential employer and provides an introduction to your resume. I know on here we have objective versus professional summary, and objective is really the old way of doing it. And with that, you would have just stated that your goal is to attain the position as program manager at Hello West Michigan, for example. And we really recommend not using the objective and sticking to the professional summary to provide an overview of your work experience and highlighting the experiences that fit the job requirements and show that you already have similar experience and can therefore do the work required of the role you're applying for. The goal with the summary is that you quickly show the hiring manager that you have the required experience and that you are the best person for the job. So when you're writing your professional summary, make sure you include keywords from the job description to immediately demonstrate that you are suitable for the job. And really, this is true of both the summary and the experience sections of your resume. So when you talk about your past experience at a position and the skills connected to it, you should be tying in keywords from the job description for the position you're applying for. I think this is one of the best and simplest tips to make resume writing a little bit easier is if you start with the job description and create your bullet points highlighting your experience from there. That way you ensure that you're referencing that you have the necessary skills or experience to complete the job responsibilities for the job you're applying for. And I should mention that obviously you don't have to have a bullet point about your experience for every bullet point on the responsibilities list. If you don't have the experience, that's okay. Just don't reference that as one of your bullet points, but do ensure that you highlight the applicable experience that you have. And this should go without saying, but never lie on your resume. It won't do you or the company that hires you any good. And if your company were ever to find out that you lied, that would be grounds for an automatic dismissal, and you don't want that to happen either. All right, so then next, be sure to highlight your education, your graduation date, applicable coursework, if you received any honors or made the dean's list, and you can also include school groups that you participated in and any volunteer work that you've done. And finally, when you save the file, you should always include your first and last name and the company name. And we say this for a couple key reasons. You will most certainly have different versions of your resume. You'll for sure have that traditional layout that we talked about, a clean, basic version. Then you might have a more designed up version. Then you'll likely have one laid out for the different position types that you'll be searching for. And on top of that, you're going to have a customized resume for each position that you apply for at a company. So to just keep everything straight, be sure to name your files clearly with name, first and last name, and the company name, and keep them organized in a way that works for you. All right, let's move on to transferable skills. And I won't take too much time on this slide, but I did want to provide you with some ideas of what transferable skills companies are often looking for. Critical thinking is a big one. This shows that you're intentional, that you take time to reflect, and that your decisions are backed and driven by data. Learning agility. This means you can think on the fly and don't necessarily have to prepare. And maybe sometimes you even pick up on things that other people missed in the conversation. Influencing without authority. You can assess the situation in a way that allows you to direct and support the work of others so that your team can accomplish their goals. Project management. This shows that you know how to plan and organize, which means things are getting done. And managing multiple priorities. This skill is necessary in all aspects of life because there's always going to be multiple deadlines and priorities that you have to juggle. And it's important that you have the skills to assess your work and projects based on the urgency and importance so that you can structure your days around what has to happen first. Now, all of these skills you can take and implement into any position and are going to be very important for success in each position you hold during your career. Now, let's take a look at some resume tips. Some of these I've already touched on, and I'm not going to harp on all of these because you'll get this PowerPoint after today's session to refer back to, and these are all things that the Career Center can help you with. So to keep you enticed to go visit them, I'll leave a couple out, but there are a couple that I want to highlight here. The ability to translate skills from an unrelated job experience is a fantastic skill to have. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about taking the skills from your job as a waitress or waiter and translating them for a professional level position that you're applying for. If you haven't done this yet, sounds a little bit crazy, but it is possible. And the skills that you gained serving those needy, hungry customers are applicable to your professional position in the future. Now, I mentioned all of the different versions of your resume and that you should keep them all on file to make sure that you have a folder system that works for you and keeps you organized. But I also want to mention that you should never save over a resume. Always keep a new resume, save a new file, and always be updating your working resume and your master list of skills and experience that I mentioned early on. If you're constantly updating the list and your working resume, then you won't be racking your brain when you finally sit down and try to remember what you did over the last 8 months. Now, when you're working on your resume, to avoid using all of the same action verbs over and over again, we have included a link in here to a list of 185 action verbs to really help your resume stand out and make it sound awesome without being too repetitive. So that wraps up everything I'll cover today about resumes. And now that you have a working resume, what happens next? This is the time that you should be arming yourself with information about industries and companies that you're interested in. If you're not quite sure what companies you're interested in, a great place to start would be by simply learning who the main employers are in the area. Get to know them, get to know the industry, and follow them on LinkedIn. You should know that in West Michigan, there are over 30,000 companies. However, only 24 of those have over 2,000 employees. So most of the companies here are going to be on the smaller side. And if you're sitting there thinking, gosh, I just have no idea where to start with any of this, or maybe you're thinking, I have no idea what companies I'm interested in yet. Talk to the Career Center. They have relationships with many of the employers around town. But as another resource, you can take a look at hellowestmichigan.com. We have a list of about 80 companies that are members of ours, and they each have a brief description about their employment brand or the company culture. So that's a great place for you to start. Now, this last bullet point about informational interviews, I'm going to save until later. So keep that thought in your back pocket. But for now, let's move on to LinkedIn. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about how to set up your profile and how to really leverage your account. Now, hopefully you already have a LinkedIn account, but if not, I highly encourage you to create one as soon as possible. This is something that you can set up and start using even before your next visit to the Career Center. So let's dive right in. First and foremost, always include a profile photo. If you have a professional headshot, definitely use that one. This photo shouldn't be your Facebook or Instagram profile pic of you and your dog or you and your best friend. This photo should look very professional. Keep in mind that employers will be taking a look at your LinkedIn page if they're considering you as a candidate. So it's important to show a good representation of your professional self. The next step to building your profile is your headline. Now, this is one of the most visible sections of your profile and introduces you on the people you may know section and on LinkedIn job applications. So your headline is key to making a positive impression and explaining exactly what you bring to the table. This should also contain strategic keywords for the industry you're trying to get into. That way you'll appear higher in LinkedIn searches. And LinkedIn has a lot of resources around how to write your headline. So check those out and get writing on that one. Next, update your profile URL. You can see mine on there. It's just my first name, a dash, and then my last name. You want to update this because you want to avoid having a series of crazy numbers and letters following your name. So clean it up by changing it to just be your first and last name or to match the name on your profile. Next, fully complete your profile. Include a summary of your professional experience, which we already talked about on your resume. And this professional summary on LinkedIn will serve a very similar purpose. So you don't have to do double the work there. You should also have your education, any past experience, volunteer experience, awards, honors. All of the content that's on your resume should also be on your LinkedIn profile. And you should be able to pull a lot of information either from your resume onto your LinkedIn or vice versa if you've created your LinkedIn first. And with all of your experience, you should include the job responsibilities that were a part of your role. So you wouldn't want to just have Hello West Michigan Program Manager from 2019 to 2020. You really want to talk about the experience that you had there, quantifiable achievements, all of the content that will really make you stand out. And lastly, be sure to turn on your light. That way recruiters can see that you're on the hunt for a position. This is a fantastic feature through LinkedIn, so definitely don't miss out on that. Okay, so now your profile is looking sharp. It's full of great content showing how you would add value to a company. Now let's talk about how to leverage your LinkedIn account. It's one thing to have your profile all built out, and it's another thing to actually use it to your advantage. So I'm going to go right down the list here. Number one, connections. LinkedIn will always give you suggestions of who you might know or who you might want to connect with. It's a good idea to be periodically going through the list and sending out invitations to connect. But you should remember to always include a note. I'm going to back up for anyone who missed that. When you send an invite on LinkedIn, always include a note. Let them know where you met them, or if you heard them present at an event, or if it's an alumni from Calvin, then mention that you have that in common. A lot of times if there isn't a note included on a connection request that I receive, I don't accept it right away, and I have to remember to go back and to do some digging to see if I can figure out why that person reached out to me to begin with. So it's important to include a note to give others an idea of why you want to connect with them. Recommendations and endorsements. So there is a section within LinkedIn for others who've worked with you in the past to endorse you on skills that they believe you're efficient in. So if social media marketing is a strength of yours, it's perfectly fine to ask one of your colleagues to endorse you in that skill so that others can see that when they take a look at your profile. And a lot of the time, people will endorse you without you even having to ask. They see the strength and they want to call it out. Now, recommendations are slightly different and are more formal. These would require an ask. And this group of individuals would be the ones who will stick their necks out for you and vouch for you if they were called on as part of a vetting process for a job that you're hoping to get. So for these folks, make sure you stay in touch with them, check in, see how they're doing, but also update them on your most recent accomplishments. It's also very important that you stay active on LinkedIn. You should be checking it every single day, just like you do with all the other social media channels that you're on. Installing the app on your phone might help you get into the habit of it if you're not yet. And then you can also be checking it while you're on the go. So follow the companies that you're interested in, companies that are leaders in their industry. Find industry influencers for those industries that you're looking into and are interested in. And then if there are any thought leaders that you enjoy and that you listen to, give them a follow. they're constantly posting their content, and it shows what information you're taking in and maybe even applying to your professional development. You can also set up job alerts for the types of positions that you're interested in. LinkedIn continues to advance its functions, and this is a great one to set up. That way you don't miss any open opportunities. You can set this up to send you notifications straight through the app or to your email, or both if you want to make sure that you really don't miss it. And another great thing about LinkedIn is that if you apply through the platform, it will let you pull the information directly from your profile and the resume that you have on file there, so that you don't have to recreate your application every time. You can just make the tweaks for the specific position. And lastly, take advantage of the ability to search alumni from Calvin. You have a huge list of connections just by having attended Calvin University. Not only should you connect with your current classmates, but you should be looking at the alumni list on LinkedIn to see who's working at companies that you're interested in, because you already have that connection with them, and they would be a great resource and a great in to find out more about the company and let you know if there are any opportunities there that might be a good fit for you. All right, I want to take a minute to dive in just a little bit deeper on really making the most of your LinkedIn connections. Now, it's great to have a lot of connections as long as they are purposeful one way or the other. That could mean that they're an added benefit to your network, or maybe you are to them. But it's really not about the number of connections you have. It's instead about the number of those people who would go to bat for you. It's the connections that you nurture that then turn into meaningful relationships. You want a solid group of people who you know would highly recommend you for a position. You never know who the connector between you and your next job opportunity will be. So really take the time to stay connected, make sure you're checking in with them and updating them on what you have going on and what accomplishments you've recently had. Beyond that, you can reach out to your connections for informational interviews. This is a great place to start, and especially while you're still in school, because it can help you get a better idea of what positions that you're interested in really entail. So take a look at your connections, or maybe potential connections that you haven't invited yet, and reach out to them to see if they'd be willing to chat with you, even if it's maybe just for 30 minutes over coffee. That will give you a good amount of time to find out more about their role and responsibilities, and it gives you a chance to ask them about the company that they work for, find out a little bit more about the culture, and see if it would be a good fit for you. Now, every year we do a conference called Intern Connect, and this year we got to hear from past attendees and past interns of ours, and all of them mentioned how much value they got from just reaching out to people and asking for a moment of their time. Sometimes there's some hesitation to reaching out to someone that maybe you don't know super well, but the worst that can happen is that maybe they say no because it's really a busy season for them and they truly can't make the time. But at least you asked. And most of the time, people aren't going to turn down the opportunity to talk about themselves. So if you are listening and already thinking of a few people that you could chat with, go ahead and make that ask. Take that step, and they'll be likely and be thrilled to talk to you about their position and help you as you navigate this season of life. Two other resources that I want to mention on here as well. The first one being Michigan Works. They are constantly putting on virtual career fairs, and they also have an online job board on their website listing available jobs in the area. So make sure to check out their website to see when their next job fair is and if there's any openings that pique your interest. Secondly, Hello West Michigan is participating in an event series called Back to Michigan in November, and there are regions all over the state participating in this event with a virtual career fair where you can actually be messaging or video chatting with recruiters local to that area. So each weekday from November 17th through the 24th, there will be an online career fair for a specific region with up to 30 employers actively seeking candidates for their available jobs. Candidate registration will open on October 1. So make sure that if you're ready to engage in that job search strategy, that you get registered for this event. All right, so once your resume is in tip-top shape and you're ready to actively engage in your job search, whether that's going to be for an internship or a full-time position, visit hellowestmichigan.com/resume and drop your resume on our site for job search assistance. Rachel mentioned at the very beginning that we have something we call the weekly resume pack. And this is our way of helping you get connected with employers in the area. So we'll actually send out your resume to the companies that we're connected with in hopes that that gets your name out there and kind of jump starts the job search for you. Another thing that you can do is sign up for the candidate newsletter to get updates on job postings for companies here in West Michigan, and that will keep you up to date on the events happening around the region. And there are links on this slide for you that, again, you'll receive after today. So thank you again for spending some time with us. I hope you learned some valuable tips and can go ahead and start applying those right away. I am including Rachel and I's contact information here. So please feel free to reach out to us and we would be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Just remember to please include a note to let us know that you listened to this presentation here, and we'd be happy to connect. And with that, I think we maybe have time. We might not have time for questions, but if we can't do questions, we do have a drawing for a Starbucks gift card. That way you have some funds to start inviting your connections out for informational interviews over coffee.
Don't you just love technology? Thanks, Jessica. I was just saying that if you have any questions, feel free to say them now, or you can send them to me later and I'll get them to Jessica and Rachel. But I really wanted to thank both of you for taking the time today to provide all this information. And for those of you on the call, I did not plan that they really represent the Career Center and talk about us, but they did. So that's something that you definitely want to do. Please visit us, connect with us either virtually or in person, and then also update your LinkedIn profile. She gave amazing tips on what you need to do to really stand out. And then also connect with Hello West Michigan and sign up for their newsletter. So thank you for attending. If there's no questions, I'll let them do, you want to pick someone or you want me to pick someone for the raffle? Me?
You can pick, yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the third person that entered the, let's see, we're going to go with 3. And that one looks like it was, oh, 1 second. Oh, there it is, it's in the chat. All right, so the lucky winner is, drum roll, 1, 2. It is Nikita. So you won. I will give your information to Jessica and Rachel, and they will send it via email. All right. For those of you who are interested in our next workshop Wednesday session, it will be next Wednesday at 3:30 to 4. And it'll be EY talking about resumes and cover letters. So definitely come out and get some more information on that. Was there, oh, sorry. All right, so that's it. That's all that I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
I think there's a question in the comment section.
Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, for the coming summer, do you foresee more internships being virtual or in person? Okay, I will respond back to Adam. Thank you for mentioning that, Nikita. And then check, make sure you're checking your email, and then you'll get that gift card, okay?
Sure, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.